Dead Man Walking came about when I was invited by Lotfi Mansouri, who was then general director at San Francisco Opera, to write my very first opera for the main stage. A huge honor. I was so excited because I was just in my mid-30s. I'd never had an opportunity like that. And he told me he wanted me to go to New York and work with Terrence McNally. We had a lunch where he said, I have 10 ideas. I'm going to read you all of them. I only really want to do one of them, but it's very important that we both want to do the same project and are both excited about it. So I'm not going to tell you which one it was. I said, oh, okay, hit me. And the first thing he said was Dead Man Walking. All the hair on my neck stood up. I had this shiver, that shiver when you know something is right, and I felt music. I had not read the book. I hadn't seen the movie. I knew about it because it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. And Susan Sarandon won the Oscar for Best Actress. We rented the video and we played it and watched it, and immediately I knew it was perfect.
One thing I appreciate very much about the score is, of course, Sister Helen she's a religious person, she's a nun. This really happened to her in her life. So she's in this world that's completely foreign to her, trying to bring the spiritual salvation of this man who's asked for her help.
Dead Man Walking is a story about a brutal murder of two young people, totally innocent, reasons unclear, and what that does with the victims, with the families of the victims, but also with the murderer. And what I like about this opera is that it talks about this very heavy and intense theme in a very nuanced way. Terrence McNally and Jake Hagee give us the time, by telling the story in all its brutality, but it's also in all its humanity, they let us think.
Sister Helen Prejean is a force of nature. She's a true superhero in the world today. She is somebody who looks at injustice squarely in the eyes, with an open heart and a very keen mind, and she works daily to correct it. She works daily to bring a kind of equanimity and love and fire into the world so that there is more love and justice around.
Sister Helen Prejean is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. She's fun, she's human, she's got a great sense of humor. She lives life to the fullest because she knows how precious and precarious it is. She jumped right in, trusted the creative team, and literally became a friend to me and the project right away.
I had begun to meet Jake, who would call me on the phone, and I mean, just immediately our spirits were just so in sync. I could tell his heart. I said, Jake, I don't know boo scat about operas. Just make me 2 promises, just 2 things. We can go with this. One is you're not going to do that atonal song. We've got to have a melody. Promise me that, and that redemption's at the heart of the story. And he said, you got it.
The first thing that Joseph does in the show is rape someone and kill 2 people. That's a really intense way to start off the journey of a character. And then the next time we see him, when he meets Sister Helen, he kind of puts on this confidence. He's sort of got a tough guy demeanor, and he almost thinks he's gonna seduce her or something. And the arc is really intense to get from that to building up this trust with this woman, and finally kind of accepting that forgiveness is a possibility.
Our first instinct is to think of it as a piece about the death penalty. And on one hand it is. It tells the story of somebody who has committed a murder and is on death row and is executed at the end. But as I've lived in this and learned more about Sister Helen's story, I find this to be a love story, and actually maybe one of the purest that we know in opera. Against all odds, these 2 people find each other. And even though she sees the horror that he's done, she continues to insist that he is still a child of God. He says, sister, you don't have to come with me to the end. You don't have to come with me into that room because it's going to be painful for you, and I want to spare that for you. And she looks right at him and says, Joseph, when they do this thing to you, I want you to look at me. and I will be the face of Christ for you. I'll be the face of love for you.
I want the last thing you see in this world to be of.
It's the love of one human being for another human being that I stand for your dignity. I stand for who you are. And love meaning I'm actively loving you. I am coming to visit you. I'm sending you letters. I am here for you. It's what love means.
She could have walked away. She could have taken his invitation to be spared the horror of watching a human being die. And she chose to stay by his side. That's an incredible love story.
We chose, in this case, for this opera, not to create realistic sets. In the beginning, we are actually in a nunnery, then we go to a community center, and then we end up in the prison. It's that journey that we wanted to bring to the stage in a more abstract way, where video will play an important role. The cameras will film them, and you will see them big on stage, so that you can look into the eyes, into the inside of a character.
Sister Helen has a couple of leitmotifs. She has a hymn she sings, and she sings an aria called This Journey, which carries in many, many permutations all the way through.
This journey to Christ, this journey to my God.
There's a theme built around Joseph Desrochers' name. There's a theme built around the actual crime, a rhythmic motif.
There is a hymn that really becomes almost a leitmotif, but it's the place where Sister Helen keeps returning to when she needs strength. And it's a very simple hymn that feels like something that we've known for decades or generations. It's very simple. It's the first thing she sings, and it's the last thing she turns to the audience to sing after the execution. And it's, He will gather us around, all around, by and by, you and I, gather us around.
Yannick, who's just a genius at leading these things and is going to bring this cast together as an ensemble in a way I couldn't have imagined. All of my singer friends adore him. He is a real theater conductor. He's a singer's conductor. He understands the connection. He understands dramatic pacing innately. I think the opera raises a lot of questions but doesn't answer them necessarily. It just brings you into the story. I've seen people who were dead set on the death penalty afterwards say, well, I may have to rethink this. And then I've seen people say, yep, I was exactly right. We should have the death penalty, and this is why. I've seen people go all different kinds of ways, but what's great about it is they get to make up their own mind about that. We're not telling them.
What I love about the opera is the fullest expression of art, because it's live drama where you're following the story, and it's also music that instructs the heart. It brings us to places we don't even know we have.